our job titles, sort of delineate our day-to-day tasks. But when it comes to major decisions, we've made a real concerted effort to make decisions together.
There are two kind of sides that we kind of split up Clockwork into. One is an artistic side and one is the administrative side. I do a lot of the administrative work with Owen and with Danny. I think that it's great to see all those things come together and be able to put a show together from the ground, and start placing those building blocks that are, at some point, the pinnacle is the show, the pinnacle is the production, but there are hundreds of little blocks that have to be put into place beforehand, and I do a lot of that.
As company manager, I basically just try to help organize the whole company, keep everybody on task, and manage deadlines and how to steer conversations and ideas into the right direction and help people do what they're supposed to do.
I find the designers, I find the people, I make sure all technical aspects are actually covered and taken care of, and I oversee everything.
Are you excited?
Yes.
Yeah, we are too. It's a little different than being in a little room watching the run-through.
Oh, yeah.
We all read an insane amount of plays, which is great. We read tons and tons of plays.
During our administrative staff meetings, the first thing we talk about is, what did you read this week? And we, kind of sum up, well, I read this and I read that. This doesn't really fit the mission. This does, but it has, 7 people in it who are all over the age of 70, and that's not really castable right now.
We have a new works campaign where we are constantly inundated with thousands and thousands and thousands of new scripts from playwrights whom have been produced minimally or have not been produced at all.
The way we choose the plays, I think, comes down to, does it fit the mission? Is it right for the company? And can we do it?
We have a system by which we evaluate them, and from very, very practical things like, do we have enough money to produce this, to very artistic things, is this what the New York theater community needs to hear right now?
Once we receive the rights and we get the green light from the playwright and his agency that we can indeed do the show, we first thing we do is we assign a director.
We so far have picked 4 plays that have been within our means. Each one has presented some unique challenges, but we've basically picked things that we were able to approach in such a way that we could do a dynamite production of it instead of something that is incredibly challenging that we did maybe just a moderately good production of.
Before we cast the show, the designers and the director and our artistic director and our technical director, Vinny Vigilante, will get together and have several production meetings where they just talk preliminary, what does the company need in order to tell this story? What does the director want as far as setting and costumes and lights?
Unless those things were there to begin with, we would never have those roots to go back to as a checking system to make sure that it was the right thing to do.
We usually post some sort of casting call in several different listings, playbill.com and backstage, the print and online, and the show gets cast and then we jump right into rehearsal. Usually we rehearse for about 72 hours before we get into Tech Week, and Tech Week is the week before you have an audience where you build the set and all the elements start to come together, the set, the lights, the costumes, until eventually we have our opening night.
We encountered some bumps along the way. Our first production was slated to be The Zoo Story by Edward Albee, and we were in about our second week of rehearsal and had mentioned it to all our members and stuff like that, and we got the rights pulled from us. But once we got the rights for True West, we sort of just jumped on and never looked back.
We produced our first production in May of 2006. It was a play by Sam Shepard called True West.
It's basically a play about 2 brothers that they have somewhat of a dysfunctional relationship, you could say, and they haven't seen each other in years, and they end up, they're both back at their mother's house in Southern California. It's sort of about the 2 of them and how they relate to each other, and Shepard calls it a dark comedy. It's very volatile and violent, and it's a really awesome piece.
We produced it downtown on East 4th Street in the East Village in a very modest hovel of a theater to a certain extent.
Like the dimmers were faulty.
We found out that the fuses were blowing every, act. It would blow in the mid-scene.
And so the lights would come in and out. And the owner of the theater was like, the solution is have someone sit on the dimmers.
So I was sitting on the dimmer pack, got that working, checking that out. The fuses blew. I had to change the fuses. I was worried it was like the old one, and I had to like yank these out and put new ones in, like during intermission. It was ridiculous. There was a burning smell, and being the technical director in charge of, safety, it was a bit nerve-wracking.
Okay, the first one was True West.
Yeah.
True West was very angry, and there was a lot of violence in it.
They destroyed like a whole kitchen.
The second one was The Monument.
The Monument was a play we did in January of 2007. It was by a Canadian playwright, Colleen Wagner, and one of the members of the company found it. We were searching for plays for a really long time, and we all read it, and it was a really, really strong piece about war.
It was very intense because the set was very gloomy and depressing, and it had like skeletons on the set and things like that.
Our members, after seeing, bodies being exhumed off of the stage in the Clermont Theater last year, said, I want a comedy. And we said, well, here's Don Juan in Chicago.
Aye, inkve, aye, ase, urhe, ute, aikne. What crazy ukfe are you talking about?
One of the best moments, I think, was working on Don Juan Chicago with the playwright David Ives, and having him come in and be a part of the process. And I didn't really interact with him that much, but Jay and Owen were able to readapt the play with his blessing. And then at the end of the process, he came and saw it and said that he liked it so much he's going to reprint it with our names in it. And so when I found out that we're going to have a play and my name's going to be in it, originally done, and she was the stage manager. I mean, I guess my favorite moment is going to come in the future when the play comes out, but that was really, really amazing.
The recent play that we did, Apartment 3A, is by Jeff Daniels, who's a film actor and a stage actor as well, and a really good writer. And he wrote a play that was very, very appealing and moved the members of the company to read, and then also the board to read as well. And what was marvelous about it was we were able to cast the play exclusively from New Paltz Theater alumni.
On this particular show, this is probably the smoothest show we've had.
Definitely.
Not to jinx a good thing, but we were very, very lucky to get in contact with Mr. Daniels and his agent, who were very difficult to get in touch with.
Jeff Daniels' name obviously being attached to the play is a fantastic thing. I think it's a lot of the reason why our ticket sales have been so good for this production, because people say, oh, Jeff Daniels, and he's an actor, I didn't even know he's a playwright, or some people do, and they want to come see that for that reason.
We played to a lot of really, really full houses, so it was a good feeling, and we feel like each one of our productions gets better and better than the last, and that trend hasn't stopped yet, and we're going to try to keep it up.
You don't think they don't know Big Bird is going to die?
Big Bird's not going
They
to
know
die.
he's going to die. They just don't know of what. Maybe he'll die of AIDS.
What the hell do you think you're doing? Get out of here. You can't be in here.
Cancer.
This is the booth.
Even more
This is my booth. Don't come to my booth. Come straight to me. Yeah. Right.
Unfortunately, in New York, there's all these little things that it takes to legitimize your company, and it's it doesn't matter how many shows you do or how many members you have or how much money you raise. At some point, it's you gotta get your review in the Times and all these other places.
I think getting a review in the New York Times was and is a huge, huge testament to our presence here. It was really very gratifying to know that thousands and thousands of people would be opening up the New York Times and seeing our company's name and our show being reviewed. And it's something that we've wanted to have happen for a long time.
We were quite nervous when we found out that the Times were coming, just because it's this could make or break. But then we realized it can't break you, So it was at some point we sort of relaxed as a company, and we realized, look, if we get a terrible review, the people that are reading the New York Times probably weren't going to be coming to see our show anyway. The number of people that are going to read a bad review about Apartment 3A and then not come is pretty slim to none. But the amount of people that'll read even a mixed review and say Clockwork Theater, Jeff Daniels, Jay Roloff, boom, tickets.
You just took me by surprise is all.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry, please. It was incredible.
What's wrong with your shoulder? It's broken, isn't it?
No. It popped out, but it popped right back in. Really, it happens all the time.
I separated your shoulder?
No.
I separated your shoulder.
You did not separate my shoulder.
You knew it.
Ah, Amy!
I'm sorry.